WorldWide Speechcraft program. I am Sally Reyes, your Sergeant at Arms, and also a Sergeant of Arms of Heart to Heart. And I would like to ask you all to take your telephones, please, and silence them. And I would like to welcome to our Zoom July 27th meeting, the host and sponsor of Leaders Worldwide Speechcraft, as well as our Toastmaster District Finance Manager, the indomitable Linda Patton. Welcome. Hooray, Linda.
Thank you, Sally, so very much. I really appreciate, I always appreciate your introductions. They make me look really, really good. So I do want to remind you, and Sally has reminded you, as has Michelle, to mute yourself through most of the meeting, and also to mute your picture. It definitely helps with the bandwidth. And we do have a whole lot of people on tonight. It looks like at the moment we have 59 people on the Speechcraft, and I am delighted. I'd also like to welcome you to number 3 of Speechcraft. Tonight we are going to have demo speakers in levels 1 and 2, and level 3 they will be doing another speech tonight. So it's going to turn out to be an absolutely stellar evening. In addition, I'd like to make just a couple quick announcements. One is Christine Robinson is in the house, and she is one of our keynote speakers tonight. And what I wanted to say about that is Heart to Heart, our hosting club, turns 10 this year, and Christine is a past Heart to Heart president. And so I'd like to, cheer her. A little clap or a wave would be awesome to recognize her as the one of the past presidents. And in addition to that, there will be, put this in your calendar, there will be a celebration of the 10th anniversary of Heart to Heart on November 11th. And more details to come as they are revealed to us, to me, to everyone. Okay, so congratulations, Heart to Heart, for making it through 10 years. That is a huge achievement, and I am proud to be part of Heart to Heart as well. So thank you so very, very much. As you know, this Speechcraft is designed to charter leaders worldwide, and our plan is, and we are moving perfectly in alignment to actually charter in October. And we've got all sorts of things to share as we get closer to that. I'm really excited. Cynthia has done an awesome person's job in making that happen. We've talked to Toastmasters International. We know what we've got to do, and we are on track to make it happen. So
yes.
Thank you all for being a part of this.
Yes,
you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I wanted to welcome, we invited a bunch of Heart to Heart, former Heart to Heart members and current members. And I was wondering if all of us who either are a current member of Heart to Heart or past member of Heart to Heart, just open up your video and give a wave so we can take a picture. And I don't know, Ishrath, if you could take a picture of us, that would be great. And wave, woohoo! Heart to Heart, 10 years, amazing. Fabulous, fabulous. And one of our long-standing members, our longest-standing member, is Louise Green, our former treasurer, and she actually was at Heart to Heart before me and still is a current member. So she's just amazing. We're celebrating her.
And I also wanted to share with you, this was the induction of the first group of officers in Heart to Heart. It's hard to tell who they all are, but this was the first group of officers for Heart to Heart.
Can I fill in the names?
Absolutely, Lynn.
So from the left, shaking hands, is Keith Patterson, then me, Lindy Sinclair, then Brendan Murphy, then Lynette Kroll, and then Ernestine Cohn.
And who's inducting you?
I hate to say it, but she was that time the area director, and I don't remember her name. I couldn't
Oh,
even see her well enough to be sure who
I
she is.
know. Okay.
yeah.
So
The nostalgia. Woohoo!
Yes.
Thank you.
you're welcome. All right. So are we ready to get into this evening?
Woohoo!
All right. Then, again, it is my pleasure and honor to introduce to you distinguished Toastmaster Christine A. Robinson. I need somebody to mute. Sorma, could you mute? Her admiration for Toastmasters began by supporting her mother's membership of 35 years. Following her mother's lead, Christine joined in 2002. And beyond her DTM, her awards include Toastmaster of the Year, 3 times first place World Championship Public Speaking for District 57, 3-time Triple Crown winner, twice Outstanding Member, and twice she served as Area Director. Christine is an author and contributor to Toastmasters Magazine. Christine serves as District 57 Club Mentor Coordinator. From her home in Mill Valley, her passion for mentorship continues as a professional speech coach across the US. Christine Robinson, Lead with Mastery, right from the start. Lead with Mastery, right from the start, Christine Robinson.
You have only one chance to make a good first impression. What will your first impression be? Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests and friends. Before saying a word and waiting your turn to speak, what will you do? How will you align those butterflies arising from nowhere in your stomach and get them to fly in formation? The swiftest way to get nervousness under control is to start before you start. Start by standing. Rather than clambering over a bunch of people from a seated position to gain the stage all sweaty and unkempt, you walk from the wings, confident and complete, to the center of the stage to receive your full applause. And that's just a few of the benefits. Coming from the sideline, it's a position of power. You're now equal to your announcer. Your heart is regulated now that you've given yourself that opportunity to breathe and self-soothe. Standing before you speak allows you to connect with your audience in advance. So challenge yourself. Hold some eye contact. Wave to a special person out there. Smile. A tacit positive interchange before you speak puts everyone at ease, including you. If your presentation is given in an area where you know only a few people, arrive early. Welcome your company as they arrive. Introduce yourself with an advanced hello to your audience to make things easier for you in the long run. Additionally, you'll learn details about your audience which later can be sprinkled into your speech extemporaneously, making you an irresistible presenter. When you're creating an introduction and you find you have too much material for the amount of time you've been given, use your excess materials as an introduction or framework for your announcer to say. By creating such an introduction, you actually give yourself a full minute more because now the announcer is saying your words. Rather like using leftover material after sewing a dress, use your speech leftovers for a creative introduction. When you're greeting your announcer, take their hand in a firm handshake. Do not give your announcer a floppy fish to figure out or such a terrific squeeze that their eyes bug out. Simply yet firmly take charge of the stage. What's the first thing you're going to do once you've got control of that microphone or the podium? Answer? Absolutely nothing. As you quietly allow your announcer to be seated and your guests to settle themselves again in their chairs, they view you as courteous and they will respect you for it. Have the courage to be quiet. Each audience has its own unique personality, a global brain, if you will. So get to know it. Listen to the funny crackles in the corner or the heavy eye contact coming from the front row. And while you're waiting, drop anchor. Dropping anchor means to sink into one place on the stage and own it. Rather than bobbing about like an aimless canoe, take command of one space. Now begin your talk. Jump right into your presentation because you have only 30 seconds in which to capture your audience attention. A personal story, a quip, a quote, a joke, that's a great way to start. Example. One of my World Championship speeches was about the power of authenticity. My opening line was, "Be yourself. Everyone else is taken." I got the audience attention and their laughter. Relate with your audience as though you were on a first date having a cup of coffee with some get-to-know-you time. This is not a deep couch therapy session in the opening. While what you say might be emotional, audiences tend to be uncomfortable if they feel they have to console the speaker. So take your therapy session outside of your stage time. Ideally, your title should be 5 words or less. Continue streamlining your presentation with a single purpose. Build on that purpose with 3 examples, vignettes, or stories to support that purpose. 3 goals a speaker must accomplish. The first is to let the audience know who you are. The second is to provide a reason to listen to you, a purpose. And last, a structure they can easily follow. Because always the audience has that unspoken question, what's in it for me? Why am I listening to you? Is the first question that needs, rather the silent question, that needs to be answered in that first critical minute. You see, a speaker is like a tracker in the jungle. Using your metaphorical machete, you clear away the path for others to follow. A lesson could be learned from the Aborigines. The Aborigines were filmed walking through the desert in a most mysterious way. They would walk a certain distance and then stop. And then they'd walk a certain distance and then stop again. Walk, stop, walk, stop, walk, stop. And when they were asked why they kept stopping so often, they replied, "We are waiting for our soul to catch up with us. We don't want to leave our soul behind." The speaker is the Aborigine. The audience is his soul. And we don't leave our soul behind. Your message should be universal. Cast your net as wide as possible to capture the maximum number of listeners. Example. Suppose you were describing a very rare illness with which few could relate. Now try widening the focus to simply being sick. Now you have a human universal theme because most of us have experienced sicknesses. A speech is like a meal. You start with an appetizer, a sexy, mouth-watering opening, tantalizing enough for us to want more. Next, you serve your main course, something savory to chew on, and conclude with something sweet and memorable. If we were to use the visual of a heart monitor by which to gauge our speech, where are the highs and the lows? because the opening should not be too high or dramatic. Otherwise, later on, you won't have any height left. You'll have reached maximum intensity too soon. So have the tone at a medium range. The I to we quotient is a vital part of Speechcraft. As often as possible and for maximum connectivity, use we and you, because when you speak in terms of I and me, we're bored. Ego, ego, ego. When you speak in terms of you, now we're interested. And when you speak in terms of we and us, we are engaged. Of course we are. You're talking about us. So more we and less me. For your voice, as often as possible, give your characters a voice. As an example, my brother Sid called and invited me for Thanksgiving. Now we give Sid a voice to inject greater depth and animation. Have him say instead, Christine, I want to invite you home for Thanksgiving. Can you hear the difference? Even inanimate objects, give them a voice too. Example, the floorboards complained bitterly under his colossal weight. The tone of your speech should be conversational. Gone are the days of Romans in snowy togas orating on the steps of the Senate. Today's listener and speaker prefer the tone of a coffee house conversation to any oration. Looking into one set of eyes after another, no matter how small or large your audience, the one-on-one conversation always wins the day. And now for endings. Last words linger. What will your last words be? Last words linger not only at the end of a speech, but the same is true in constructing sentences, because ideally a strong sentence structure should have at the very best at the beginning or the end. Forget the old adage, save your best for last. Put your best first. This way you have an even higher goal for your conclusion. To build a strong ending, your purpose is the guidepost. If your purpose is to get your audience involved in a project, have a call to action. This creates a linear speech going from point A to point B. A circular speech structure is my favorite, where the ending picks up the threads of the opening, and the verbiage from the opening can be woven into the conclusion, supporting the speech with symmetry and balance. And by the way, don't forget to breathe. Some speakers seem to run out of air toward the end of their presentation. Make sure as you go along that you've got enough energy and drama for a strong and vibrant conclusion. In the end, you are not required to thank your audience. There are those who believe that thanking the audience devalues your presentation. You are courageous. You worked hard to get to this moment, and your presentation is our gift. Through our applause, we complete the cycle of giving and receiving as we thank you. Return control to your announcer with a strong Madam Toastmaster or Mr. Toastmaster, and wait for them to come scoop you up off the stage. Remain standing, smiling, and most of all, receiving your well-earned applause. Madam Toastmaster.
Oh, Madam Speaker, it is so, what a fantastic presentation. Thank you so very, very much. I get to thank you. And you really, really served our audience extremely well. And for that, I really appreciate this presentation. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity.
All right. So now you can rest on your laurels.
They're all under there.
Yeah, they are.
Linda,
Okay.
does she get a question answer section? or
Yes, we
not?
do. We
Yes.
have 5 minutes of Q&A.
Oh, goody.
Yes.
So now,
Fire
so
away.
Michelle will be looking
I'll
at the
read this.
questions in the chat, so you don't need to worry about that.
Okay.
And she will read them off to you.
Yes. So I wrote, good to be quiet before speaking. I liked your analogy of cutting a pathway for others to follow. And here from Carolyn Douglas is, love this speech, Christine. Stop to let my soul catch up. Really beautiful. Laura Lee wanted to know which Aboriginal group you were referring to. The grouping all tribal people together is problematic as they are distinct cultural groups. Do you know which group it was?
No, I'm sorry, I don't. It was not given at that time.
Okay.
I can do a Google search and beef up my program for next time.
Okay, yes. Well, and
This
in
is just the round one. We got round
Yeah.
two to keep
Yeah,
going. Right?
absolutely.
Isn't that right, Cynthia?
Absolutely. And usually Aborigines are people from Australia, possibly New Zealand, but I'm not positive. That's who I usually think about when I think of Aborigines.
right.
Yes, same here.
So Rosanna said, what a fabulous presentation. I loved all the practical tips. Yes, you gave great practical tips. Carolyn Douglas said, great demonstration, Christine. So you also demonstrated how to do the things that you were talking about, like giving a voice to a character. Nuggets of wisdom, outstanding. Thank you, Christine. Can we have the recording? This speech needs to be listened to a few times. Yes, I believe there will be up. Lynn Fraley, terrific, Christine. Thank you so much for modeling for us an expert presentation. Loved the anchor. Rosemary Sweeney, great presentation. Kathleen Phil, all that wisdom and sizzle into a few minutes. Love all the tips. Donna Wilkinson Clark, excellent presentation, very useful and applicable tips. Laura Lee, thank you for a great overview. I love the specific tactics you used. Achi, from a 13-year-old learner, this was epic. And Ulrika, metaphors that sizzle. Yes, your metaphors were just wonderful. Shohag says, can you say more on great titles? I always suffer to make titles of presentations. There's your first question. Well, it's your second question.
I do try to make it in 5 words or less. I would probably be pulling from the purpose itself of the presentation. Like this one, like tonight, the title was Lead with Mastery. Because this was about beginnings and endings, I wanted to have something about what I was going to talk about, Lead with Mastery, and to provide you with that mastery. The less filler words of that, the in your title, get rid of those. And just, it's like getting down to the pith and marrow of why are you giving this presentation? What do you want the audience to know? That is what needs to go into that title. Although, little codicil to that, I have heard, if you really want to get daresome, have your title not do anything to do with your presentation. Have it be something that, has to do with the very end of your speech. So then the audience, having heard that title, is still waiting for the answer and will follow you through your speech until, aha, now I know why you did that title.
We have one more question here, and you're at the yellow, so I want to make sure you get it. Where do you get your stories? What's a good resource for that?
Everyone has a great story. Everyone has more stories in them than they know. I remember going to Judy Carter saying, I'm so glad you helped me get over my sad stories about my family. And she said, no, don't get rid of your sad stories about your family. Keep your sad stories about your family. They make great ammunition for your next speech. So you really have a lot more going on than you realize. Even the smallest thing, like a flower growing out of a piece of cement, that has a great story behind it.
Thank you. And then we still have a little more time. Cynthia says the shorter the title, the better. Ouch was Darren LaCroix's winning speech title.
Yeah, there you go. That's one. The guy I worked with, Willie Jones, his speech title was The Warm Boot.
Great.
And he starts out by talking about being a computer specialist and helping people recharge their computers, but that everybody needs a warm boot to recharge themselves. But it was a strange title, but it really fit with the humor of it all as he began to unfold what a warm boot meant.
Lovely term.
Isn't that great?
Christine. Yes. So we're out of our time for the question and answer, but oh my goodness, this was just a wonderful, wonderful presentation. So much good information, vivid metaphors, great demonstrations. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
So we're going to turn this back over to our Toastmaster, Linda Patton.
Thank you so very much, Michelle, for monitoring the chat and for giving such wonderful feedback back to Christine. And by the way, usually when I download the recording, the chat comes with it. And so I might be able to send you the chat so that you can look at the comments and see what other wonderful things were said.
Yes, yes. Well, that's the only way I improve is by hearing from you first. So you'd help me a great deal if I could see how we're doing over here.
Perfect. Thank you, Christine, so very, very much.
God bless you.
And we're now going to move on to sort of an interesting way of doing things. We have a gentleman, Charles. Charles, could you pronounce your last name for me, please?
Amemya. It's like Mamma Mia without the M.
All right, Amemya. Charles is going to give his 5 to 7 minute presentation. And from that, Ashley Harkness is going to talk about humor and point out some spots where Charles might add some humor to his presentation to enhance it and to make it even more powerful than I imagine that it's going to be. So let me start with an introduction to Charles. Charles Amemya is a professional speaker, life and business coach, and an advocate for social responsibility. Charles also works in technology, primarily in the areas of software and medical device development, networking, and IT healthcare. He's also been a member of Toastmasters for almost 5 years. Earlier this year, he helped some District 57 leaders and members complete a Speechcraft project at San Quentin State Prison. Charles Amemya, the worst prison in the world. The worst prison in the world, Charles Amemya.
When you think of a prison, what's the worst prison you can imagine? Is it San Quentin, where California's death row inmates are housed? Is it one of those super crowded foreign prisons where people are starving? Many people are surprised when they learn what the worst prisons really are. Fellow Toastmasters, in 1997, I received a 2-year prison sentence for illegally manufacturing drugs. I was later transferred to Folsom State Prison, one of the most violent places in this country. 3 weeks after arriving at Folsom, things got worse. I learned that my mom was in the hospital. My mom, the most amazing, loving woman I ever met in my life, died 8 days later, and I didn't get to see her. 5 weeks after that, my wife left me at the lowest point in my life. For the first time, I thought about the meaning of my life. Why was I born? What was the purpose of my life? Have you ever been at a low point and wondered about your life's purpose? Life has a way of teaching us the best lessons at our lowest points. Life was beginning to tell me my purpose. It was telling me that I need to use my skills and talents to do good things in life and not use them to commit crimes. Believe it or not, I did learn some good skills in the illegal drug game. I had excellent customer service and marketing skills. I had fantastic sales and product development skills. And since I got arrested, the skill that I really needed to work on was risk management. But the biggest lesson I learned was that I was in prison long before I arrived at Folsom. I was in several mental prisons that I had created over 15 years earlier. I was in that mental prison of low self-esteem because I never believed I was good enough. I had a really negative attitude and a lot of anger at the world because I had a bad childhood. I had incarcerated myself in those mental prisons of anger, negativity, and low self-esteem. I was released from prison and I was ready to hit the ground running. One day I was in a room waiting for a job interview. I was talking to a young man who was waiting with me and he said, "I just graduated from Penn State." I said, "I've never been to Penn State, but I've been to the state pen. And I've never been to Yale, but I've been to jail." That interview went well, but I didn't get the job because of my felony criminal record. I was denied many good jobs because of this. I knew after talking to the Penn State guy that I needed to get a good education to get better jobs, but I was afraid. I was afraid of failure. I was still angry at the business world for discriminating against me. Once again, I could feel those mental prisons of anger, negativity, and fear being constructed in my mind. But this time was different. This time I slowly began to escape from those mental prisons. And when I did, my life transformed. In 2003, I got my bachelor's degree in technical writing. I went on to get my master's degree. I've worked on technology teams at some of the biggest companies in this country. I'm currently working on a technology team at the California Department of Corrections, where I was once incarcerated. I'm also doing volunteer work. I'm going back into prisons to help teach incarcerated men the business and personal development skills they need to start their own businesses. Legal businesses, of course. I never achieved true freedom when I got out of Folsom Prison. I achieved true freedom when I got out of my mental prisons. The worst prisons are not made out of concrete and steel. The worst prisons are the ones all of us create in our own minds. These mental prisons are those negative and dysfunctional mindsets, such as not believing we're good enough, failing to move forward in life because of fear, or neglecting our physical health when we don't diet properly or exercise enough. There are many others: hopelessness, anger, negativity, self-doubt, overthinking, procrastination, and many more. When we're in these mental prisons, we never reach our full potential in life, and we never achieve all of our dreams. Now, the big question is, how do we escape from these mental prisons? Step one, acknowledge that you're in a mental prison. Many people deny that they have dysfunctional mindsets. How many of you know people who do this right now? Step two, imagine a better life. Ask yourself, what could I accomplish when I escape from my mental prisons? And finally, step three, walk out of those cells in your mind. Interestingly, the escape artist Harry Houdini can help us out here. Houdini once said that he could escape from any prison in 1 hour or less. One day he was locked in a cell in a notorious prison that no inmate had ever escaped from. In that locked cell, he pulled out a small piece of metal and used it to try to pick the lock on the cell door, but he couldn't do it. He didn't hear that click he was expecting to hear. After struggling for over 2 hours, Houdini was so exhausted that he collapsed against the cell door. And when he fell against that cell door, something strange happened. That door opened. That door opened because it was never locked. That door was only locked in his mind, but it was open in reality. How many times have we incarcerated ourselves in a mental prison that was only locked in our minds, but was open in reality? How many times have we incarcerated ourselves in that mental prison of fear, when in reality there was nothing to fear? And how many times have we told ourselves that we're not good enough, when in reality, all of us are awesome, unique, and talented human beings who have value to bring to this world? Walk out of those cells in your mind, because when you do, you'll be walking down that path to true freedom, and you'll be on your way to achieving all of your dreams. Madam Toastmaster, back to you.
Okay,
Wow.
so you're going to stay here because I'm going to go over through some of the comments, and then anybody who asks questions. Oh, sorry.
No, this one's a little different, Michelle.
Oh,
We're
okay.
actually going to introduce Ashley Harkness, who is going to do his presentation on humor and give Charles some tips on where, when, and how he might be able to use humor in his presentation. And then we get to use Q&A.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. This one's a little bit different. So our next presenter is Ashley Harkness Jr., and he's been a Toastmaster since 1997. In 2008, he was elected District 57's district governor. While in Japan, the client asked Ashley, "Tell an American joke." Ashley told a joke. There was absolute silence. The interpreter said in Japanese, "He told a joke." Laugh. They laughed. His next visit, Ashley came prepared. This time, they laughed so hard, they cried. The interpreter laughed. "Great joke." "Yes," Ashley replied. "A Japanese joke translates well. With care and planning, humor can be universal." And so we have Ashley Harkness putting humor into your speeches. Putting humor into your speeches, Ashley Harkness.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster and fellow guests. Charles, I'll be talking with you later, I think. But humor is something that is absolutely universal. We tend to forget that from time to time, but it really is. And what I learned in Japan was very, very simple. I couldn't use an American joke because they just didn't have the same reference points. So I did the best thing I could. I found a joke that would work. Oh, it was Japanese, and I passed it off as an American joke. They loved it. And sometimes that's kind of what you have to do. Now, I want to show you and share my screen here. I'm going to bring up I hate to do this to you, but a PowerPoint presentation. And I am really going to tell you, this is kind of where we're at here right now. We're going to be putting humor into your speech. And I want to show a bunch of ways we can do this. And let's get right into it here as we can do this. First of all, I'm going to use a broader approach. The approach is basically, hey, let's get something simple up here. The key to it, as you saw in the speakers we had before, it depends on where and when you place the humor, because humor helps you with your placing and put it in your speech such that it carries along. We're also going to think strictly about things that matter. So we're going to be ignoring a few small things, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. You heard already from Christine Robinson, get the first laugh early in your speech if you can. I like to do it in the first 15 seconds because that really sets the mood up. They get it. They really do. And they relax. When you're doing this also, make sure that you're tracking and evaluating what your laughs are doing. You might even have a helper out there making sure that your stuff is being recorded so that you can look at it later on. Now, are you looking for humor? Well, it's all around you. Just turn on the television. We have several of the most wonderful humorists who broadcast to the entire world. I just give you a few of them right here. And then, of course, there's always that thing called the internet, the ubiquitous internet. We're stuck with it, but it's there, and we can go there when we need and more for our humor. Now, a lot of people are afraid of humor. Why is that? It's because they think that not anybody will laugh. Some people even get told, "You're not funny. Don't even try." But no matter what happens, if they don't laugh, don't worry about it. Tomorrow is another day. And no matter how tough your audience, I guarantee you, you will not die. You will survive. Oh, yes. Next rule I have, never apologize. And never do an aside that says, oh, wow, I guess that one didn't work. You're not Johnny Carson. You can't pull that off. And that's not something you want to do anyway. You're not there to be a comedian. You're not there to use humor to get your message across. If you have someone in the audience who is heckling you, don't respond to them. Just pass it off. You can smile. You can even say, thank you very much. The audience will take care of them for you. And if it gets really bad, don't run off the stage. People have been known to do that, even in Toastmasters. You don't need to. But there is one more rule you have to abide by, and that is simply never argue with a drunk that's in the audience, because that's an argument you can't even, well, you can't win, you can't do anything with, and it ruins everything because your audience says you gave up on us and you just focused on that guy. Now, we heard about the opening story. That's great. Usually it's there to warm up the audience and to catch their attention and make them feel comfortable. It creates a very positive response in them because you're kind of introducing things, and one of them is that you're a human being and you're willing to take a few risks. That's cool. I have a story for that. Once when I was in Boston, I was sat in front of 2,000 engineers who were all my age. You can't maybe tell, but from them telling you when I started Toastmasters, you figured out we weren't young. My job was to talk about training the new people that they were getting, and I walked up to the lectern and I realized that my message wasn't going to work. So I said, I reached in my pocket and I pulled out my cell phone, turned on the flashlight and held it up and said, show me your flashlights. Suddenly, I was blinded by 2,000 cell phone flashlights. And I told them, okay, turn them off. And they did. And when they did, I said, thank you. The cell phones that you have in your hand have more computing power and more knowledge and experience than any of us on this earth. So we have to adapt to that. And I know you will, because you're carrying them with you at this very, very moment. And oh, by the way, let's all thank that battery manufacturer from 1,000,000 years ago, Mr. Everready, who I am certain, as of right now, is turning over in his grave. The whole point of that was to bond with the audience. Some of them might be hostile. Who is this guy up there and what is he going to talk about? And it almost wants to keep the audience interested. In the speech that I gave, I started talking about where we were going to go and how they had to do things. We had to do these things because I also had people working for me I had to train. I was making simply a point that technology is here. And if there's anybody in the audience who can't deal with it, get out of it. Come on to it. And sometimes the audience will even make you the question for you. In one time I was coming to do electrical safety training and I said to them, well, I'm here, my name, blah, blah, blah. Now, any questions? And this one man sitting in the front said, yes, I have a question. And it is simple. Are you going to be as boring as the last guy your company sent here? What do you do with something like that? Now, admittedly, these are anecdotes, but they happen to be true. You'd never know what's going to come out of the audience. So when you're selecting an opener for your speech, make sure it's relevant to the people in the room because they will then see the humor in it as you present it. A simple anecdote, very fast, very quick, not a long story, will give you the best results. And why not? Now, you want also the humor to move along. It's fair enough to put it into your transitions because as you speak and you change from one subject to the next, you might want to end on saying, and yeah, that really worked in this situation, or do something like that and try out the humor. You can also use something like a callback where you say, and that was the day that was, or, and the lightning struck. And then you repeat that several times. Every time you repeat it, the audience will think back to, oh yeah, he's still back on track. He's keeping us informed. And wow, that's called a callback. It's a technique. If you're repeating your earlier phrases, don't work them to death, but have fun with them. You might switch the words around because you're reconnecting to the audience with your theme in your speech. And it reminds everybody that there is a serious, there's also a whimsical part to the moment that you're sharing with them. There is more to this. There are elements in humor that you need to know about and use. Why not? First of all, I'm going to show you some examples of that. One is called the setup. Then there's the pause, the punchline, the punch word, and finally, the ending pause. Well, let's see how it works. I've got an example of how that delivery works here for you. And pardon for the author, but here it is. We'll talk about the setup. In this case, it's from the cartoon Blondie. And the boy is saying to Dagwood, my mom wants to send me to summer camp. And of course, this is the setup. The next panel is Dagwood saying, well, what about your dad? This is the pause between the setup and what's coming next, because what's coming next is the punchline. She wants him to go too. So you see the transition and how it works? It's very simple. Right in your 3-panel cartoon, look at the look on Dagwood's face. Is that amazing or what? But there's more. This thing called the punch word, and it's basically a play on a word, but you never know it until it happens, and here it is. You can see that our bird on the wire has Wi-Fi. It doesn't need a wire. Isn't that great? I didn't have to really explain that to you, but I just did. You hit the pause button at the end. When you've done all of your presentation, and maybe you've done a little bit more for the humor near the end, you want, wherever it is, and you're doing the humor, you want to give them a pause. Let the audience think about it and laugh. It takes an audience about 1.5 seconds to realize that was a joke, and another 1/4 second to find out if they're going to laugh or not. And you must wait for that. You've got to, because after the punchline, you have to let the audience laugh. You may have to stand up there and think about, I only have 5 to 7 minutes, and they're laughing and laughing and won't stop. Okay, it's a good thing. So what? My point is that you practice the delaying tactic of letting them laugh. Well, where are you going to get this material from for the humor that you want? It's absolutely everywhere. We already heard from Christine about the anecdotes. She told an anecdote once at a contest speech that I heard many years ago about being in a swing on the front part of the house in Lemonade in the South. To this day, I can see the image. I can see the image. Stories about yourself are always safe, but please be careful about spouse jokes. You may be the recipient of the whatever it is, but a lot of the audiences sometimes don't like that, and they will tell you about it later on, I guarantee you. Okay, the other experiences, clearly everybody has these kinds. Whatever it happens to be, you'll find an anecdote, you'll have something to lead off your talk about cooking or about riding a bicycle, or maybe something that happened to you in school with some kind of funny part of it. That will be the setup that you need to get it going. Okay. Where do you find these things if you can't think about it? I got told one time, I can't find a single joke. What am I going to do? I said, well, let's see. There's a newspaper. There's a Reader's Digest, which is that's a good place for them. Parade magazine. I don't care where you get them, but once you get them, get the book, not from the library, make sure it's your own, and then cut them out, stick them to a card, and keep them. You need them for your humor book. Humor books are very important to you because you're going to refer to them later on as you go through the speaking world. Stay on one subject if you can. In one case, I'm showing you a humor uniform from the Reader's Digest. But the point is that if you are in front of an audience of people who are amenable to this, they will go with that kind of a thought. Stay with it. Oh, as far as your subjects, well, maybe they're not real. Maybe they're imaginary. And exaggeration, who's going to check? It's what they call sauce for the goose, and why not? Hey, it's really up to you. And your job is to move them through the speech with you. And of course, don't tell an out and out lie. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that you can, I don't know, stretch a point. That fish was really 12 inches long that I caught. You saw also, as Charles was using gestures, fantastic gestures. He was doing all kinds of things, and he moved from side to side. His rate and pitch gave us an indication of his enthusiasm and his excitement. Key points to what's going on. Me, I like sight gags. Hope you do too. This one's a good one. I hope that bag really makes a lot of noise. Now, an important part of all of this stuff is the tryout, and that is you take your speech, and as the introduction for Charles said, he has been a speaker for a while and been doing a lot of things. Try it out. Get a humor buddy to sit there and watch and say, look, that didn't work. Or wait a minute, you sure you want to do it that way? Practice, practice, practice. You'll never get enough practice. And then when you get enough practice, you do it some more. And track the laughs, count them. How many laughs per minute you're getting? What worked? What didn't work? Those kinds of things. You need that information to help you out. Don't laugh at your own joke. Big mistake. Terrible. And if you lose confidence up there because it didn't work, keep your posture, keep your eye contact, and keep going. Because very often they didn't know what happened. They thought you did that deliberately. Well, what if they don't laugh? Well, there's lots of reasons. First of all, maybe it's the wrong audience. Ever been in one like that? I have. And you have to adapt to that. Sometimes you have to suffer a little bit, but that's okay. And someone blurts out your punchline, you can say, wrong! And then repeat the real punchline, which is what they just blurted out. Everyone will laugh at that one too. You made a joke out of a bad situation. What about if if it doesn't work? What do? You don't run away. Just keep right on trucking on, because no one will know. And they'll think that it was actually intended to be serious. People are very forgiving. So my advice to you with this new skill is write, rewrite, keep rewriting, do a lot of practice, keep a video, because you kind of want to know where you're going and where you've been. It's a wonderful journey. I challenge all of you to do that. And now, back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Ash. Thank you, Ashley, so very much. That was very amusing, and I appreciated it very much. I'm going to turn it over to Michelle. There are two things running here. One is we do have some Q&A. We have some things in there, but also you started to give Charles some feedback. Where else might he put humor in that speech that he just did?
Well, humor, Charles has a very tough subject, because there's a lot of fear in the outside world for incarceration, and rightly so. So a disarming humor for this one might be that, after a period of time, something happened and it was so humorous that he couldn't help but laugh, and that made that day easier to get through. I don't know what that would be, but I'm sure that Charles has a legion of these kinds of stories, including some that are on the opposite side of the fence. But bringing out some of those will really engage with the audience, because sometimes, even in a most serious situation, I think you need to laugh at yourself and have everybody encouraged to do that with you. How's that go, Charles? You like that? I want to mention something else. Charles was moving left and right, and he had superior gestures. He had his hands out, not to get handcuffs, but it was a meaningful one. I was looking for the time when he started to get real serious. I wanted him to lean in, like they do on the insurance commercials. And let me tell you something, bud. This is how it is in the real world. Twist your body a little bit. Use that kind of emotion. We tend to think we're on one plane, but we aren't. Your pace. I like to change pace. You need a buddy to sit with you and say, this part of your speech needs to be slowed down, because now as you got near the end, you were speeding up. I would be careful of that, because you didn't need to. The seriousness of your presentation was coming through, and speeding it up didn't lighten it. It made it more intense when I think you were trying to control the intensity. So you also used great words. I like the idea of Yale and jail. I wrote that down here. And Penn State and State Penn. Excellent. Put some more of those together. and throw them out there and sprinkle them around because the audience caught it. I watched the chats light up like a Christmas tree when that came on. But your sincerity, your ability to translate the freedom of the outside world into a escape from the mental prison is a message that's heartfelt. And really, we need to know more about that. As citizens who are not in that situation or haven't been, and hope not to be, okay, we have no idea what the life is for you. A young man deprived of your wife, your mother, your freedoms. Continue the story. Let us know. Yours is a voice we definitely need to hear. So I thank you for that. And as you go farther and speak more and get more audience reaction, you will develop your own set of skills for this that are going to be just unique to you. And on those days, I want to be in that audience. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank
Charles.
you. Thank you, Ashley, so very much. I think those are fantastic evaluation tips for Charles. Michelle, do we have some quick Q&A that we can?
I don't think we have any questions, but we do have a lot of comments, and I certainly want to invite Charles to download, make sure he goes and clicks over at the little button at the bottom in the chat that gives him the copies of it, because there were a lot of comments in there. So he well deserved. And I think everybody was speechless after Ashley's. We did get a link to how to connect with Ashley for his master class, so we can learn even more. And I think Lindy said that Ashley speaks Japanese, and he goes there frequently. Is that true?
Sweet. Hi.
Hi.
Spent a lot of years there.
Okay.
Love the food.
And then Linda said, in Japan, you also need to pause. They take in the information, translate it to Japanese, then answer the question, react to the joke in Japanese. Finally, they translate into English and everyone raises their hand or laughs. I know it happened to me. That's Linda.
Yeah, they also do one more thing. They'll listen to your question and they'll say, so your statement is, and they'll repeat it back to you. And until they have the statement that you said, they'll keep doing that because clarification is very important to the Japanese.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's see if there's anything else here. Terrific speech, Ashley, from Rosanna. I'm curious, do you memorize your speeches?
Well, come on, that would be telling. The answer is I write every speech out that I have because I want to keep it in the folder that I've got over here. That's one. Secondly, I usually have some kind of notes available for me, but then I tend to kind of drift around, you know, and kind of, it depends on where I am and where the audience is. And on television, it's kind of hard because you're looking right into that camera, but I do have it structured and I do that as a discipline. Even though I may get up and go really off track and go crazy and even start telling you jokes. But yes, I do have a script someplace. I don't know where, maybe right over here. Oh, here it is.
Thank you, Ashley. It looks like we are out of time.
Thank
So I'm going to go ahead and give it back to Linda for you to take us on to the next phase of our meeting.
Thank you, Michelle. It's always delightful to have you playing with me. Right now we're going to go to a 5-minute break. Mona, 5 minutes for the break, at which time you will come back and we will move you into breakout rooms. There will be a breakout room for level 2 for the 4 speakers in level 3, and level 1 will remain in the main room. So come back in 5 minutes and we will move you along into the next phase.
And Charles, I just really want to say to you, there are a lot of comments in the chat, and I just wanted to give the few things that Ashley got, but you have a lot, so please save the chat for yourself.
Okay, perfect. And I'm going to turn off the recording for now, and we'll turn it back on when we reconvene. And it's all
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Linda.
You're
Hello,
welcome.
everyone. Welcome to the third session of our Speechcraft program. First of all, heartily congratulations on completing your icebreaker speech. Here is the next milestone that you will have: feedback and evaluation. That is your project 2. Do we have any inputs from let us have any inputs from the audience. Why don't you give us any idea, what do we mean by an evaluation and how to get a valuable feedback? You can just write your inputs in the chat. Okay, thank you. One of them has written constructive feedback, yes. So here is the deal with project 2. It's not like anything you have done before in Toastmasters. You will be given 3 tasks in one project, which means you will be doing 2 speeches and 1 evaluation. Project 2, task 1. After you complete your icebreaker speech, you can open up the project 2 instructions. This requires a pop-up window, so look out for something which is behind the browser, or just maximize your screen. That will give you the full-fledged.
Arrived. Linda, can you help us get a little structure here, please? Oops.
Yes, I can. I just need to unmute. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
There are 2 people giving presentations this evening in your group. One of them is
Got that.
Jay Ligda. The other is Laura Lee Gooding. Jay, do you have your evaluation for your presentation?
I can bring it up.
Okay.
He sent that over to Amalia.
To Charles?
But
Amemya.
Amelia. So Amelia sent to me just now. We've got Laura Lee Gooding. I have her persuasive speaking evaluation sheet. I have Jay Ligda, evaluation resource. Looks like he's an icebreaker, 4 to 6 minutes.
Okay.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
Then I'm just not sure where to go from here with these evaluation forms, and unsure as to, am I leading and evaluating over here, or it should
Not necessarily. You have 2 other advisors. Tyree can evaluate and Charles can evaluate.
Oh, good.
So they are both,
you'll love them.
they are both skilled evaluators.
Yes,
Rosanna is your timer.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like the little clock behind her as well.
Isn't that great?
I
Yeah.
think that's terrific.
All right.
Thank you.
So Rosanna will keep track of time.
Okay.
The speeches, Jay, your icebreaker is 4 to 6 minutes?
Correct.
Okay, and Laura Lee, yours is 5 to 7, correct?
5 to 7,
Correct.
there we go.
Correct.
Mhm.
And then there'll be a minute of silence after each one, so the evaluator can get their evaluation squared away. Then after that, the next thing you can do is table topics. 2 people can do a table topic. That's all you have time for. And then after that time, then the evaluators will give their evaluations. Christine, usually we expect the leader, which you are, to then be the evaluator of the evaluations.
Oh, okay, thank you.
It's just a real quick, these 2 are going to be outstanding, so they should not have any, they might have a stretch goal.
Yeah, it'll be like 30 seconds or less for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So
You're going to stay with us, yes?
I can, yeah.
What else are you going to do? Come
What-
on.
Christine, will you
Yeah, I
email me evaluation form for either one?
Sure. I have, let's look at Laura Lee's. I'll send it to you on your email. May I have your email address real quick?
Johnson.tyree@gmail.
I'm trying to send mine to both of you.
Okay, there goes,
It sounds
there
like
goes
she's
Laura Lee's. And then where would Jay Ligda, where do you want his to go?
His goes to Charles.
And Charles, may I please have your email address?
Sure, in the chat?
No, just for your email address. Just give it to me now, if you would.
Okay, sure. It's Charles at charlesememya.com.
AMEMYA. Last name.
Charles AMEMIYA.com.
Oh, here you are. Okay, sure. It's on its way.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
So do we toss a coin to see who goes first? Or is it ladies first?
A virtual coin?
Rock, paper, scissors.
We could do that.
Yeah, there you go.
Rock,
Ready?
paper, scissors. Let's go. 1, 2, 3.
What did he get?
We both-
He was a rock.
We
He was
both
a
did
rock.
scissors. We both did scissors.
Oh, you both did scissors. Great.
Oh,
Okay.
look
I
what a
did
rock
it.
for me.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. There. So I don't know who you won, so you get to pick.
You can go first. It's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So do we have a title for your presentation, Jay?
Oh, I forget what it was. I emailed it to Amemya. What did I call it?
And I thank you for doing that.
Yeah. Geez, what am I going to call it? What did I call it? Jay introduces himself to worldwide leaders.
Okay.
It's a very exciting title that Christine told us about. Yeah.
So Christine, you want to introduce him? You're muted.
Let me unmute myself. Here we go. Thank you. And I'm looking at here. Here's the introduction.
Okay.
Jay will be doing an icebreaker to introduce himself to Leaders Worldwide Speechcraft group and lay out his intentions for being there. Time, this is a 4 to 6 minute speech. Please help me welcome Jay Ligda, Jay's Worldwide Leadership. Jay's Worldwide Leadership, Jay Ligda.
Thank you, fellow Toastmasters. Imagine, if you will, a middle child sandwiched between an older sister and a younger brother, both with very dominant personalities, constantly at each other's throat. I, in the middle, trying to keep peace between the two of them. There was no room in this relationship, this family, for me to express myself and to learn and grow. The result was that I turned inward. I looked inside for my sense of self and my self-worth. I turned to reading as a way to nurture that self. I didn't read fiction. I read nonfiction. I read anything from the cosmos, how the universe was created, evolution of humanity, and philosophy and religion, psychology. I loved it all. I just loved taking in all of this information. This made it difficult when it came time to choose a major in college. I couldn't decide on any one thing. I wound up, for practical reasons, getting a degree in industrial technology, which was how to make widgets for consumption. But while I was studying, I took classes in all different fields. I wound up with 210 units out of the required 120. My studies led me to ponder health and community as a source of the primary source of for humans, health and community. So I went on to do a master's degree. I picked holistic health education so I can study health, how the mind body work together to produce a state of health. Or I had a superpower, as Cynthia Stott is used to talking about a superpower. I could take vast amounts of information and integrate it down into simple terms. While I was working on my master's degree, I studied the evolution of communication technology, writing, printing, computers, just how we have evolved our communication technologies and how that related to our social structures. That it took this hierarchical social structure, and as communication technology evolved, it flattened it down, creating more freedom for the individual. After I graduated my master's degree in 1996, I started to write a book, Humans in the Universe, integrating all this information, but I became frustrated with this linear method of writing. I started to dream of how to use computers to write in a nonlinear fashion. And then I discovered the internet. Wow, this technology already existed. I quickly taught myself how to do websites and started building a website for me to write all these ideas down. And this led me to a career in website development. This internet was the final step in this evolution of communication technology, I thought, where information could be made available to anybody. It would flatten down the hierarchies and allow us to live from an internal world, internal authority versus an external authority. However, that didn't happen. Instead, we saw the rise of these internet corporate giants, Amazon, Google, that have control over all of our data. Little disappointing. As my career evolved, I became a part of this company, SyncFab, and I naturally became the CTO of that company. And in this company, I learned about blockchain. Blockchain has three components: an immutable data storage. Immutable means it can't change. Decentralized, it doesn't belong to anybody. And distributed. Distributed, the same data distributed over a network. And this makes it very secure. Nobody has control over it. I started to fantasize a way to use this blockchain technology to store our information in a way that we own it, not the corporate giants. Decentralized is the key. About 7 years ago, I was introduced to Toastmasters and just fell in love with it, the structure of Toastmasters and the ability to learn. Another one of my superpowers that Cynthia Stott has noticed was the ability to take Toastmasters projects and use them to support my career goals and my dreams and my projects. I finished 2 paths already, and I'm ready to start on my DTM project. How many of you are in a Toastmasters club where the information, the minutes, and all the information is stored in a nice, easy to access format? None of my clubs are like that. For my DTM project, I'm going to take this passion of a decentralized storage system and bring it to Toastmasters as a way to store our clubbed vital information. I'm going to use WorldWide leaders to work on this DTM project and hopefully recruit a lot of you onto my team, finding ways that you can move forward with your Pathways projects, your Toastmasters projects, and help support this goal. In 2 weeks, I'll present my DTM project to WorldWide leaders. I hope you jump on board with me and help make this possible. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Christine?
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, he turned it back to you.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I keep thinking you're the Toastmaster. Forgive me. Well, great job, Jay. Thank you so much for a really insightful presentation. So now we need a minute for the timer to give us and the evaluator to collect our thoughts and send Jay our comments. If you'd put us on
Christine,
the
they
timer.
will do a full-blown evaluation in just a little bit, but we
Mhm.
need a minute just for them to gather their notes.
Yes, that's right.
Thank you.
That's what I wanted.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's okay. We're all good. Mhm, mhm.
Time's up.
Okay, thanks. That was kind of a longish minute, it seemed. Thank you very much. Okay, for our next speaker, I have Laura Lee Gooding. I have here a little bit about the evaluation. I got this from the evaluation form that was given to me. It goes on to say that this is from a persuasive speaking, and some of the notes from it say the member will deliver a well-organized, persuasive speech on any topic, can choose to appeal to emotions, ethic, or logic. Speech may be humorous, informational, or any style the member chooses. And we move on to what was said in the email that is from Laura Lee to Amemya. She says the presentation mastery level 3, persuasive speaking, the title, Why You Should Be Journaling. Why You Should Be Journaling, Laura Lee Gooding. Please welcome to the stage, Laura Lee Gooding. Are we ready?
Unmute yourself, Laura Lee.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And if the rest of you would mute your video, that would be great.
It's happened again. You lay in bed waiting for sleep, but your brain is spinning. It won't turn off. You screw your eyes shut and will your brain to shut up just for one night. In the morning, you wake up exhausted and hoping that tonight will be different. Was this you last night? Are you thinking, when did Laura Lee put a camera in my bedroom? It's certainly been me on more nights than I care to count. It feels like as soon as the back of my head hits the pillow, it hits a button and my brain starts unspooling like a reel of film that goes shooting off in all directions with flashes of ideas and bits of half-remembered memories from years ago, just regurgitating out with no rhyme or reason to it. I felt powerless to stop it. Once it started, it had to unwind the entire reel. I would walk around in a sleep-deprived fog during the day, shuffling from home to work to home. After weeks of sleepless nights, I found myself complaining to a friend. She looked at me and asked, "Have you tried writing out all those thoughts before you lay down in bed?" Well, no. You should try it. It can't be that easy, I thought. But I was desperate. I had tried everything else and nothing was working. I knew I had to type it out rather than putting pen to paper because my brain has never been able, or my hand has never been able to keep up to my brain. I sat down at the computer and I word vomited it out, 4,000 words, all in one go. It just kept pouring out of me. Every worry, every conflict from the day, every stray thought that crossed my mind in that moment, I wrote down. My fingers were moving so fast, I thought a key would fly off the keyboard. I typed until my mind was blank. I didn't have anything left to think about. My head hit the pillow and I closed my eyes one at a time, sure this was some sort of trick. I fell asleep faster than a dinosaur falling off a cliff. The next morning I woke up feeling rested and refreshed for the first time in months. Fellow Toastmasters, I was a journaling convert. I still do the word vomit every night before bed, but most days it's now closer to 1,000 words rather than 4,000. But friends, something I didn't expect was a decrease in my irritability and anger. Putting my anxieties, fears, and frustrations into words allowed me to name my feelings. And like Rumpelstiltskin from the fairy tale, when you know the name of something, it loses power over you. So it was with my feelings. Writing out that I was frustrated by my lack of understanding of the material in my university courses helped me stop grumbling over the ease my peers seemed to have. Writing out my fears of being alone helped me realize that I was staying in an unhealthy relationship because I was afraid that what was out there in the dating pool would be worse than what I had now. It helped me gradually realize that even though what was out there could be bad, it didn't mean that what I had now was good. But wonderfully, writing out every thought that crossed my mind also meant that I stored hundreds of memories, happy memories, that I rediscover when I review old journals. And fellow Toastmasters, this is why you should be journaling. Not necessarily for the help to sleep or to name your feelings, but so you have a record of those memories, those happy memories that bring you joy. Marie Kondo tells us that we should only keep things that spark joy. And so it should be with our memories. Fellow Toastmasters, I challenge you tonight to write down even just one happy thing that happened today.
Yeah.
Write out how it made you feel and why it made you happy, and keep that memory for the years to come.
Oh, isn't that great? Nice job, Laura Lee. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was terrific. If we could have a minute for us to gather our thoughts for Laura Lee and send them to her. Rosanna, let me know when that's finished.
Time's up.
Christina, you're muted. It's okay.
Oh, finally, thank you.
Let's go ahead and do the evaluations, and let's hold table topics because we're running
a bit late. Yes, yeah. I agree.
Okay.
Alrighty, so our first evaluator, let me see if I got my participants thing going here, would be Charles Amemya for the first speaker, who was Jay Ligda. So please welcome to the stage, Charles Amemya.
Fellow Toastmasters, and especially Jay. Jay, I really enjoyed that speech. We're in the same club, and I think I've probably heard like 40 or 50 icebreakers from you, or maybe 10 or 11. So I really liked the introduction. You talked about the challenges of being sandwiched between siblings who are different ages, and how you took that struggle and you used it to develop some superpowers. You actually found your sense of self by reading and by taking in large amounts of information and making sense of it, which is a very challenging thing to do. I think you did a really good job at taking complex topics and translating them in a way that regular lay people could understand them. You took this abstract topic of blockchain and you really broke it down and distilled it into a couple explanations that we could really clearly understand. That was really good. And one of the things I liked most about your speech is that it was inspiring in that you were able to do what a lot of people can't do, which is take the things that you're good at and passionate about and use them to develop a career. You took us through that journey of taking these superpowers, use them to help find a major, find careers, and also to apply them to Toastmasters. And that's something that I'm really looking forward to, because I work in tech and sometimes I struggle just to navigate around pathways.
Right.
So I really appreciate the fact that you're taking some of your technology skills and using them to help out Toastmasters.
Mm-hmm.
What are some things you could work on? Overall, you had really good word choice. There were a couple moments, I think, when you could have explained some terms better. You used the term widget, but you didn't give us the context. We don't know what widget meant when you said it. And I would say rehearse your speech just a little bit more. There were some pauses, and I think if you would have rehearsed it more, the content would have flowed more smoothly. So Jay, I am looking forward to seeing how your passions and understanding of technology will help out you and help us out at Toastmasters as well. Thank you. Back to Madam Evaluation Master.
My evaluation master. Thank you very much, Charles. Well done. And now we have to evaluate Laura Lee Gooding, Tyree Johnson. Please welcome to the stage, Tyree.
All right. Fellow Toastmasters, world leaders, Christine as our evaluation master, and Laura Lee. So it's a pleasure to meet you here for the first time and having the honor of giving you some feedback on how I saw this speech, how I felt about it, and maybe some suggestions that I think could help you be more effective in getting your message across to your audience. Now, this was to be a persuasive speech, and I just want to go through a few elements of what a persuasive speech consists of. It will consist of adjectives, alliteration, anecdotes, cliches, emotions, evidence, inclusivity, or puns. Not all of those together, but some evidence of those coming to mind. So for me, I certainly found this was an anecdotal story that weaved itself into some truisms that were effective for you. Your vocal variety was impeccable. I really liked the fact that you showed energy in your seat, along with just doing a very quiet whisper to the camera, knowing that your audience is on the other side of that. I thought you did an above average job on eye contact. However, I did notice a few glances off to the side that told me you weren't focused on us, but that I think is more of a nature of the environment we're in than your speaking acumen. Things that I've seen you really do well is really have good movement within this controlled environment. And you did use some alliteration when you said put pen to paper using the P constant. And also you used something else that I really like. Keys just fly off the keyboard. So all those things really made it seem as though your energy was authentic and real. Where I could see some things you could add to bring it even more credibility to your audience would be a little more practice. So maybe you were reading or glancing off to the side, but anytime your vision comes off this green dot, tells me you're not looking at us and we're not in a room somewhere where you can do it. The other thing is, I'll just say this, use a quote. One of the things you said is how people feel. Maya Angelou always said, people will not remember what you say or what you do, they'll remember how you made them feel. I see Christine remembering that. Give us a really good call to action with some reality. I don't think it would have been too much for you to, when you invited us to start writing and do it alike, for you to show us a journal before us and maybe flip open a couple of pages. The only other thing I would ask you to do is slow your pace down. You quoted some people or whatever, and I just couldn't catch them. So that, again, that could be the technology. But I'm proud to have heard this first speech from you as a persuasive speech, and I know you'll continue on this path on your journey to do even more. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tyree. Okay, and Executive Director, do I now evaluate the evaluators?
Yes,
That
a
was
real
coming-
quick evaluation
right?
of.
Okay, you got it. For Charles, I loved your warm opening, things like complex titles, complex topics for regular people. You spoke about what Jay did well, using the words inspiring and helpful. I loved how you put what he could work on in terms of context, the things that he needed to flesh out. You were very specific, and as an example, the widget was something that you gave for him to gnaw on. And I loved how you just have that looking forward to seeing you again. I thought that kind of evaluation worked very well because you gave him a couple of things to work on, and you were very forthcoming, particularly at the beginning of your evaluation. For Tyree, I loved this kind of evaluation, what I saw, what I heard, and how I felt about it. That's another great evaluation structure for all of us to remember. And you came right in with movement, vocal variety, alliteration, whispering into the camera. You hit every single point, I would say. And I loved how, for, you know, how to improve. You couch that better than I do by saying add more credibility. Boy, that, I love how you kind of do that as part of your evaluation, you know, grist for the mill for her. And then you gave her enough things for her to work on. Simply eye contact, use the quote, Maya Angelou. So you saw me waving my, you know, mouthing off with you. So you picked somebody that's a good quoter for all of us. And then I love that show the journal part. I wouldn't have thought of that, but I love how evaluators, you know, give physical examination to what they are saying. So great job, both of you. And I feel our speakers came away with a whole suitcase full of ideas for their next presentation. So thanks to you both.
Outstanding. So a brilliant session today, and I thank both of our speakers and our two evaluators as well. And Christine, you were an awesome Toastmaster. Thank you so much.
Knowing what I was doing.
One thing to remind you all, if you're going to speak next week, we've shifted when you need to get stuff to us, partly because, especially week 4, 6, and 8, it becomes much more complex as to how we have to divide people up, not only in level 3, but 1 and 2 as well. So we're asking that you get to your coordinator, in this case, Amemya, if you're going to speak, the title of your speech, the path that you're working on, and the project that it's in. If you can also get to her the evaluation for your speech. That's also very, very helpful for all of us. And then one of the things that I need to do with the coordinators is make sure that they get it out to the dignitaries in the other breakout rooms so that you all would have that. So that's on me, and we're working to be better each time. So do you all have any questions per se?
Do we decide this week who's going to speak?
Okay. You need to be a VIP member, and I believe you are, Swarna. Then yes,
Yeah.
you need to decide and get us this, again, the path, the project, the title of your speech by Sunday at midnight.
Okay.
Okay. And we have two of our youth leaders here. Yash is here and Presha are here as well. And we are so honored to have them as timers and just being a part of the Speechcraft. So let's give them all a round of applause.
Yeah, for sure, for that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. So any questions from y'all?
Just one, the
Yes,
mechanics of how this is going to work, Linda. So I just sent a private chat to Laura Lee so I can send her my evaluations, but I wasn't sure if we were going to do like a centralized thing or.
No, thank you. I don't want the evaluations. Please do send them directly to the speaker. So
Okay.
if you don't have their email address, make sure you get it before we leave tonight. Or you can come to me and ask me, because I do have their email addresses as well, either one. But yes, it's a private conversation between the two of you.
Okay.
Okay.
I was just curious, you know, it's not that big of a deal, but yes, how do you exchange that information? So that's just between us.
Yes, please. I have enough paper and emails to, we had 234 emails this morning when I opened my email box. So I appreciate any way that we can facilitate sort of one-to-one and that kind of thing. So thank you, Tyree, for asking that question. Anyone else? Okay, so with that, I'm going to—
Wait a minute, I got one more.
Okay.
I felt like I just dropped in out of nowhere
And you
into this
did, but
whole
that's okay.
process. So I'm just curious as to, you know, like the next round, like in a regular meeting, we would talk about who's being assigned. So like, I just know I'm going to show up, but at this point, it would be nice for me to know, one, what is my role if I want to repeat this, and two, who's speaking. So I prefer to collaborate beforehand.
Right. And I like I said, I can't tell you who's speaking next week. I can tell you that all three levels, everyone who can speak will be speaking. I can give you your list.
Oh, okay, that's what. Okay,
but it won't be until Monday afternoon. So in other words, literally Monday afternoon, because I will be able to put, because I have to put together who's going where and doing what, and it's a relatively complex division.
Okay.
Because we try, you will only have 2 speakers and 2 people doing table topics. Today we didn't quite get that far, and that's my fault. But yeah, you'll only have 2 speakers in the room.
Ooh. And this is my last question, my last comment. I just have to say it's kind of problematic for me because I'm booked. I apologize, I'm late, but Mondays I'm booked on Zoom from 10. I had to push these people off to get, just so I could be here at 7. So
we understand that, and we appreciate it. Yes.
Likely to, just like you, I'm not sure if I'm gonna catch the email when I get a break. Who's it from, or that information I got?
It'll be from me, and it'll be around noon.
Okay.
On
That's
Monday.
what I need to know.
Yeah, and I'll
All right.
put it in high priority, Tyree.
Yeah, would you send in a high priority? That would really help.
Yeah.
That would keep me from having to donate to the president's campaign fund.
Yes, absolutely.
He gets me up all the time.
Okay, I can do that. if you send me your text, your cell phone number, I can also text you with it.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. All right.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right. Are we ready to go? All right. I'm hoping that everybody's ready. Yes, I want to leave.
I will be coming back to next week. Thank you. I need more chocolates. And if anyone has a technology to send it now, immediately I need this.
Okay.
Ishad, okay, I'm taking it. Yeah.
Okay.
I got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And who is going to share their next takeaway?
That was Shivante, I think she wanted to share.
Hi, so I didn't come early because I went to church for a few minutes in between. I won't get an answer to church otherwise. So Sri Lanka. And I love listening to every speech because it's so different. And I say intentional is best word you are the program quality director for District 82. And love hearing all about you all. See you.
Awesome.
Chocolates.
Chocolates, yay.
Okay, and who is going to go next?
Okay, I think Linda's back, so let's check in with her. Linda,
I am.
are
You all got
there?
started early.
Yeah. Well, we got started on time. We finished the chocolate.
Okay, so, but we have a whole bunch of new people. Are we?
Yeah, session 2 is joining you.
Yes. So it's
and 3.
Yes,
I think we're
and
all
1.
back. Are we all back?
I think we're all back.
Okay.
Did you start without us?
Yes, they
We
did.
did. We had chocolates. We only have
Oh,
6
man.
minutes left. I think Linda has
Aw.
some other things to share.
Oh, I want chocolates.
All right. So we've done chocolates. So all that's left are final announcements and reminders and a quote. Let me get there. Remember that we are still speech crafting from the 31st of August or till 31st of August, and graduation is the 21st of September. International conference, which is free to all since we're not going to Paris. It's a virtual meeting on August 24th through August 29th. And do not worry, we do still have our session on the 24th because it will end early in the afternoon. So we are not impacted. We should have the registration link by August 1st. Okay. Any final questions? All right, then our quote for today is, every time you have—
I wanted to make a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
I have something.
Go ahead.
Just wanted to be okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're a little
Okay, great.
fuzzy.
Just wanted to remind people if you, is that better?
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
No, you're very distorted.
I wanted people of how to become a VIP member and speaker.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's much better.
Oh, okay, I'll put the video off. I just wanted to remind people, if they want to become a speaker, they can become a VIP member, and they can email me at cynthias.dtm@yahoo.com, and I'll put that in the chat.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, so our quote for tonight before we close is, every time you have to speak, you are auditioning for leadership. And we thank James Humes for that quote. So since this is Oakland Leadership, or Oakland Leaders Worldwide, excuse me, it's not Oakland, it's Leaders Worldwide, you are auditioning for leadership every time you speak in this group. Don't forget, we need your path, your project, your title by midnight Sunday night, or you won't be able to speak on Monday. Very, very important. Okay? And everybody who's a VIP member has the ability to speak next week. All right? You have to be a VIP member. All right. Have a great week. And as they say, be calm and carry on.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
Linda.
Hey,
That was
Brian.
Wonderful speakers. Thanks, Christine.
Thank